There's a lot of options here.
A lot of options. Cardinals had a lot of options this past Thursday night. They,
I feel like I feel like they had one option, Jason.
Well,
and that was to screw up their next 5 years of their future by drafting Kyler Murray.
So they had the first pick, and they also had Mr. Irrelevant. Who you more excited about this year?
I saw a stat at one time. How many times does Mr. Irrelevant actually make the team? It's very rare.
He made the Redskins last year.
Did he? All right.
I know that much.
I know it's very rare because it's, there'd be special teamers or practice squad guys or whatnot. But it was a UCLA player. It was Mr. Irrelevant. So.
Caleb Wilson.
Yeah. A guy I've heard of. Usually Mr. Irrelevant's like, Hawaii or, Boise or Central Michigan State University or something. Well, you've never heard of him,
And like most of them were like, yeah, Mr. Irrelevant, yada, yada, yada. He was all like, yeah, I'll just embrace it. Tight end out of UCLA. Kind of small, though, for NFL tight ends.
I've read, that's why he's Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
I've actually read a lot of stuff where people, once you get to the 6th and 7th round, a lot of the good players that know they can make a roster for special teams or whatnot would rather not be drafted because then they can decide where to go.
Right.
Because then they can pick a team where they know they can fit in and have a spot open.
And free agents.
Yeah, like if the Patriots pick you in the 6th round, chances of making that team, or as a quarterback, say, you're not going to make that team. You're just there as a camp body. So that's interesting. But not Kyler Murray for the Cardinals. I think this is going to be the last year we're going to have Steve Keim as the GM because he screwed up last year. The question that I have is Bidwell running the show and Keim is doing what Bidwell wants, or is this all Keim? And the way we'll know that is when this goes horribly wrong this year.
Who's pointing fingers?
Yeah, it's like, if Keim's gone in the middle of the season, it was Keim.
I kind of feel like,
and it'll be Bidwell.
During the press conference, you kind of got a sense that it was Bidwell that was like the only one that could overrule Keim in this situation. Because it sounded, because Keim was like, "Oh, we didn't really take any phone calls for Josh until the draft started." I mean, whether that's true or not,
don't believe
I don't believe everything, but you know what? I can just go off what they say. And he was like, it kind of came up through last minute. We had these two in mind. So it kind of sounds like Bidwell was like, look, Cliff is big on this guy. Let's do this guy. But then again, I mean, if Kingsbury is this quarterback whisperer that he's, been given the mantra of, then why not work with Rosen? So I don't know.
Well, that's the issue, right? Is he shouldn't matter who his quarterback is if he's the great quarterback whisperer. He's had one good quarterback, and that was Patrick Mahomes in college, right? But
he did have Baker Mayfield for a little bit there too.
Yeah, and he caused him to transfer.
Well, there wasn't room. He got Pat Mahomes.
Well, I do know draft morning that they called, I think it was Ed Oliver. They called a defensive player and told him that he's still an option for number one. So they might not have had their number one pick chosen, but I think they put themselves in a corner with Josh Rosen that they didn't want to be in. I think if you want to get down to brass knuckles on this, I think Cliff Kingsbury wants, if for no better terms, he wants a quarterback to be his guy.
Right, which I think most head coaches do.
Well, I mean, if you walked in as a head coach, ask Wade Phillips. He walked into Denver when John Elway was the coach, and John Elway was like, screw you, I'm not listening to you, right? He would have liked his own coach, but he wanted that. So I think that's it. But you're going to live and die by the sword. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is not getting fired after year one because they just fired somebody after year one.
Right.
So he's going to get a couple years. The issue that I have with it is just how it went up to and everything is nobody else had. If Kyler Murray wasn't drafted by the Cardinals at 1, by all intents and purposes, he wasn't getting drafted till late first.
Do you
round.
think the Giants would have got him at 6 over Dan Jones? I mean, Dan Jones wasn't a sexy pick at all.
But that was the guy the Giants wanted.
That's so weird. Well, I know he is a Senior Bowl MVP.
They had every other quarterback available.
You had Haskins too,
and that's the guy that the Giants wanted because because they picked him 6th.
I just love every year we're like no quarterbacks in this, and we almost had 4 going round 1. If the Broncos thought that their guy was going to get taken, they probably would have traded back in to get their guy.
I get it, you need a quarterback, but how? I don't. I guess I just don't know what the Cardinals are doing. I mean, so Bruce Arians leaves and they go completely opposite way with their defense. They go from the 3-4 to the 4-3 or vice versa, whatever it was, and look horrible last year. So then this year, they still have pretty much the same personnel, and instead of going, and sticking with what you got and putting in pieces there. Now they're like, okay, offense, we're going to switch everything on offense. It makes zero sense what you're doing, especially in this division.
I mean, I get maybe if you want to retool mode, but I mean, you kind of did that last year with your top 10 quarterback that you picked. You traded up forward to get him. So that didn't make sense. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those, let's just get rid of all the bad. I mean, they had to,
Josh Rosen,
settle on the 3rd round pick.
I mean, that was the other thing.
After everything.
That's what's horrible about it is you got nothing for Rosen, which is disappointing. And the reason you got nothing for Rosen is because nobody liked Kyler Murray to move up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the Cardinals are doing. I think from my perspective, I think they're looking at the Rams and they're going, you know what, we want a team like the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Rams run this style of offense, and this is what we want here.
We want our coach to just be worried about offense, because that's all Sean McVay does. He is offense, offense, offense.
Yeah, and
he doesn't, when the defense is on the field, he's not even looking at them. Yeah,
and they're basically following that model.
Which is kind of the model to follow, I guess, right? This year,
difference is when Sean McVay got there, all that talent was already there, and he just had to mold it. The Cardinals are starting.
Well, he didn't have Goff. Goff was drafted with him, right?
No. Goff was there for
Goff
a couple years.
there with Fisher?
Yeah.
Because he was drafted in Wentz's year, right?
He was with Fisher because he was awful.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
awful. Remember?
Because they were comparing Rosen.
Yeah.
And Goff.
So, which is fine, whatever. But they put 3 decent to better than decent wide receivers. They drafted them, which they need wide receiver helps. They're set at running back as long as David Johnson stays healthy. Offensive lines question mark as always, but I think offensive lines question mark for most teams. If you read everything, they needed a tight end. So they got Mr. Relevant.
Yeah, Caleb Wilson. Hey, 60 catches for 965 yards last year. Not bad for a tight end, right?
He played in Chip Kelly's offense, which is going to be right along with Cliff Kingsbury air raid offense, same type of a style on there. But I mean, I don't get up and down about drafts anyway, to be honest with you. I can't stand the draft because 90% of the players don't make it through.
Right.
But
I read something today where somebody was saying how they think probably have a pretty legit shot at making it on a team.
Yeah, I was reading that too, that the Cardinals, and the thing with drafts that you do is that I do at least, and I think everybody should do, is you don't read local media when it comes to drafts. Because local media is going to be harder on the team or lighter on the team because of the relationships. You look at the national one, and everybody national is saying the Cardinals had a good draft.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. What they aren't saying had a good draft is the Giants, the Raiders. It could be worse.
They were murdering. Well, first the Raiders send the scouts home because they don't want word to leak out that they got the worst defensive tackle from Clemson. Like the other guys were the better ones, right?
The third, they got the third best Clemson, defensive lineman as the number 1 guy, right?
Yeah.
And they could have gotten him with their next pick, probably, by the way, on there. And so you got that.
And then Dan Jones and the Giants, they were getting murdered too by not just national media, but also the local, like the New York Daily Post was what are you doing?
New Yorkers are flipping out. I feel sorry for him the most because...
For Gettleman?
No, for the player.
Oh, for Jones?
Because he was picked way too high, so his expectation level is going to be higher.
Oh, yeah.
Then it was like a huge reach that he was picked, so then the expectation is going to be even higher. So basically, here you go, kid. And then he's going to be following Eli, which the expectation is going to be even higher.
Yeah,
so
as much as we hate
luck,
on,
kid.
as much as America hates on Eli Manning, the guy has 2 Super Bowls and is going to be in the Hall of Fame, right?
I don't have his stats in front of me, but his stats were ridiculous last year. Like he gets ripped on, and he has 4,000 yards. Like all these, I mean, it's ridiculous what his stats are. So he's on the downside of his career, and he's not the guy he was, 10 years ago, but he's still a good quarterback. So that's why I feel sorry for this number 6 pick. It's almost like he has 0 chance to make it with the Giants at all. But then, I mean, Rosen got shipped off to Miami, and, as long as, I think Rosen's problem is a head case, to be honest with you. And I don't think,
I mean, he came in not really necessarily like a chip on his shoulder, but like it was a self-induced chip.
Yeah,
on his
but
shoulder.
I think
he's like, I'm going to prove these other 9 teams wrong.
Yeah, I
Here
could
we
be
go.
completely wrong, but I think Cliff Kingsbury just didn't want to deal with Rosen. Like I feel like he thought Rosen was too smart for him, and he just didn't want to deal with it. So give me the stupid kid from Oklahoma.
It's like I feel like Rosen might like come in here and try to like Aaron Rodgers me at some point, be like, I'm not running your play, like you run my play.
So I don't know, but if I was a betting man, I'd be putting money right now that Steve Keim will not be the GM. And the question is, if they get off to a bad start and he gets fired in the middle of the season, that'll tell you that it was all Keim's
right
going. Because I believe Bidwell lets his people do what they want to do.
Right.
He signs off on the players. Like he doesn't want any bad apples, so he'll have to sign off on the players. Or they have bad histories, he wants to meet with them and sign off on them. But I think in actual picks, he lets them do it because that's their job. But I've heard some rumblings that he was the guy who was kind of pushing this too. So I don't know, but we'll find out because it'll be when he gets fired is when you find out. Because if it was Bidwell, you're going to get rid of him in the middle of the season. If it was Keim, you'd get rid of him early, and if it's Bidwell, you'd keep him till the end of the season, and then be like, "Oh, we're gonna move in another direction," and he's gonna be repositioned. So, I mean, Cowboys didn't have a first-round pick. What do you think of their later picks?
I'm actually was looking it up right now, and you just kind of hear some stories. A lot of people weren't really talking about the second round pick, Tristan Hill out of UCF. We saw him play here with LSU. I mean, looked pretty solid from what we saw. I mean, he wasn't a guy who was on my radar. I mean, really, I don't really care too much for the second rounder. To begin with, I always kind of focus on the first round, but since we didn't have a first round pick, it was like, who the F are these guys, But no, I'm good with that. Although I did hear a few times while they were breaking them down, maturity issues. So that's not something that you definitely want to hear out of the guy you just picked first in the draft.
Well, Jason, he would fit in perfectly with the Cowboys then.
Yeah, right. But I don't like hearing it. I'm actually I'm more thrilled about the third round pick, Connor McGovern.
See,
McGovern.
Yeah.
McGovern.
Out of I just drew a blank there. But I think that was a solid
Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. There we go. That was a pretty solid. Anytime you go with those Penn State guys like that, I mean, they're just built right and everything. He's going to be a solid guy right there.
And the funny thing, they were talking, they had his like press conference and everything, and the phone call got leaked out, and Jerry Jones was half the bag when that pick was released. I was looking for the audio because I wanted to play it, but he was pretty much like, "Hey Connor, it's Jones from Dallas." Like, doesn't say I'm Jerry Jones. Yeah. Like, hey, it's Jones from Dallas. I want to be the first to welcome you to the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I mean, they talked to him all throughout the day. They talked to him,
No, he actually said, like...
They didn't talk to him?
Yeah, he's like, when was the first contact with the Cowboys? Like, when Jerry Jones called me. Yeah, that's what I thought was like more intriguing about it. I think it came down to one of those things where it's like, all right, round 3. I think they wanted somebody that was picked a few spots ahead. They're like, well, this guy's the best available right now at 90. So
you
go the best available right there.
You always hear those stories of guys where they're like, man, I got a phone call and they said they were taking me, and then they announced somebody else.
Nah, he was straight like, my first contact
20 picks later, I get a call saying they're going to pick me, and then they pick somebody else. Like, you always hear those stories.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's another quote from Jerry, and I can't remember what it was at the press conference, where he was all like, you got to keep your strong side strong, or something like that. It was something weird. And Stephen Jones like, Confucius over here.
Yeah, Jerry. What that shows me, and I think we've known it for a while, is that shows me Jerry Jones does not. He's the face of the Cowboys, but he is not running the show anymore.
And I wish more people would understand that he's not running the show anymore, because Jerry gets a lot of hate.
So he's
everything that happens, man.
He's the face now. Well, I mean, when you look like an idiot, and because that call was ridiculous and stupid, like, but
do you think he was taking a shot at Steven there too? Like, hey, I'm Jones, you're Steven.
No, I just think he's the pompous ass and thinks he's God's gift, and everybody knows who he is. You know what I mean? So that's what I think it is. But yeah, I mean, overall, the draft was what it was. I don't get too excited either way. I mean, for sports,
a lot of people were talking about their 2 5-round picks. They got Michael Jackson and Joe Jackson back-to-back picks. So
no Tito.
There was a lot of Twitter memes and everything on that, but both those guys out of Miami, so cornerback and defensive end out of Miami.
Those guys were on tape joking around, and I don't remember where it was, but they were someplace together and they were joking around about how they're going to end up on the same team together. and everybody was like, "You guys are silly."
Well, there you go.
Nope.
The Jacksons are reunited, baby. Coming to AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But overall, draft wise in Nashville, man, I thought that was cool. Friday night, like those 250,000 people, and it's raining, pouring on rain.
Yeah, raining like cats and dogs and everything.
I think since the NFL went to this new format, I mean, oftentimes when it was in New York, where was that, Music City Hall or something like that? Sure. You would forget, exactly. You would not really care about the draft to be on Saturday afternoon, be the first round, and they just kind of go into it.
No,
I like having the first round on Thursday night. I love how they go city to city now. 250,000 on Thursday was crazy. Then you still had like 200,000+ on Friday for 2 and 3.
Do they charge to get into that area?
See, that I do not know.
Yeah, see, that's what I was wondering. And nobody talked about it. Because, when the Super Bowl comes and they have those parties,
in like the tents or in like the
seats, you have to pay, right?
And stuff like that. Well, when the Super Bowl was here last, I didn't go to like the party, but I went and
you have to pay for that stuff.
Checked out all the festivities. They had that experience at the convention center. I think it was like $20. Yeah, wasn't too bad.
But that's what I'm saying, though. You usually have to pay to get that close. So if they had to pay...
I think underneath the tent and then those seats, you would have to pay. But on the street, I don't think you can really...
They take that whole area. That bachelorette party proved that because they shut everything down. No, they basically took it over. But I agree with you on that. I mean, because they did it in an area like when they went to Chicago. They were just in Chicago. They
were in the park at Millennium Park.
Yeah, but then. Right, and
so there's a lot of people there.
But that's not a big party area, right? And then when they did it in,
but they put like tents and stuff around. Yeah,
but when they did it in Philadelphia, they did it in front of the steps of the art museum and whatever. But that's not where people go to party. They did it in Nashville, in downtown Nashville, which is a party central. Bars everywhere. Yeah. People go there regardless. I've been to Nashville. I've been there on Friday
even last year.
It's just packed regardless. So
it was at AT&T Stadium last year, which isn't like it's a stadium, so it's not like a party.
Yeah, but you're not
either. But no,
you're going there just for the NFL draft. What they did in Nashville was they went, and it wasn't just draft people there. It was hundreds of other people were there, bachelorette parties that were mad and stuff like that.
Gosh, those stories were great though, man. The draft, like
that guy. Okay,
I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah, that guy
with the blondes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If that guy doesn't get a phone call from his buddies and go, dude, what are you doing? After seeing them on camera acting that way, like his friends hate him. So, but next year it's in Vegas. So next year will be the same type of a thing. You'll just get an intermix of, lots and lots of people that are there for the draft, and then lots and lots of people that aren't and just want to have that party atmosphere. So, but from all accounts, everybody was saying it was great. But now it's time to
talks are possibly Fremont Street next year.
That's what the rumor I saw was Fremont Street
would probably be the best to do it because they're not going to shut down the strip for it.
They could.
Right? I mean, yeah, they could. I mean, it's the NFL, but for
I've seen them
4 days, they're going to shut down the strip.
I've seen them shut down the strip for a lot less. Let's put it that way.
Right. But I don't think just all those days, like you're going to shut down the strip for X amount of days.
You can still get around there, though.
Yeah, you can still get around there. And
anybody
everything.
that goes to Vegas,
like if you work, you'll still be able to get to work because you don't take the strip.
Yeah, anybody that knows anything about Vegas and it spends a lot of time there and lives there, etc. You don't drive down the strip ever. You take the back roads around. So it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. But no, Fremont Street would be spectacular. One, it's covered. It's got that stupid cover thing with the lights and everything. Right. But then it's just accommodating to everything there. The thing I would like to see, though, is all those hotels on Fremont Street are tiny because they were built back in the 20s.
And they're all old. You got to do some facelift on those guys, like the Nugget. And
I have a hard time walking into those places because the doorways are all smaller and the roofs are smaller. Right. And I feel like I have to duck under sign. So I want to see a 6'6", 320 solid pounded man walking into one of those old casinos and compared to me.
Where do you move the guy who gets kicked in the nuts? He's over there on Fremont Street. Do you move him off of Fremont Street?
Well, yeah. The guy from America's Got Talent, is he on Fremont still?
No, there's some guy. Was there a guy on America's Got Talent that got kicked in the nuts too? I didn't know that. I just know
his act on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, no. One of my buddies posted they were hanging out on Fremont Street. I think it was Zach Madrid and Kelsey Foley on them. They were on Fremont Street.
Yeah, they have all those. I mean, they all have street. It's just like the regular one. They have the street acts and everything. The contortionist that.
So, FYI, I'm looking at the site. They did have VIP seating for Nashville, which is all sold out, and that was up on that little deck thing and inside. So I don't know necessarily what you get, but
Well, I just know.
I can get on the list here.
I just know. Sweet. I can think of nothing.
I mean, I think I want to go next year.
All right.
Let's go.
I can think.
Let's go cover it.
Yeah, right, there you go. I just know being around NFL events here in Phoenix and LA and whatnot, when big events come through, is they cordon off like a large area.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay, and it's usually cheap. You're right. It's like $20, $30 or whatever. And then you get like a 8-mile radius area where you get to hang out with stores, shops,
right.
food, and everything like that.
Because I remember
you have to get pay. You have to pay to get access.
When the
It's not
Super
like you just walk
Bowl,
in.
everything on the road was free, and inside, because right across from Talking Stick before they were putting that parking garage up,
Yeah.
all that was free. That's where like NFL Network stage was and everything, and had like another like concert stage.
Yeah.
You just walk in there, but then you had like the Bud Light tent, which you had to like get tickets for. I think my roommate, he actually got like a hookup of some tickets for that to go see like Shakira or something that night. And
They always have the concert. That's the thing
yeah,
about
and
Vegas.
we went to Westgate. Westgate had other concerts too. So
Like we were in Vegas last year for the NHL things, and I mean the talent they had rolling through for concerts, and not just the hookers. I'm by talent, but you know
they were talented too.
Yeah, you know the shows they had coming through and stuff like that. You know, so just imagine the draft. How many, you know, and it was the same thing in Nashville, from what I understand. Just country artists after country artists were there to play, and you know, random. You walk into a bar and you know, some decent known country act is
Yeah, they had like the mid-level acts.
Yeah, because in Nashville, you walk into a bar, they have the stage set up already. It's just sitting there, so you can just walk up and do whatever. And so that was a neat thing. So if the NFL's smart, that's the way to go. Make it an event. You know, get away from the Philly where you put tents up and things like that. Like, I'm sure that was cool for everybody, but you have to make an event for people to go. And you do in those areas where people want to be already, and then you just make it even better. So,
Man, I kind of like how they're doing it all there. So
we'll see next year, you know. We'll see how that goes. Vegas.
Oh, hang on. Here was a story. Sorry, I'm still looking at this ticket deal here.
Jason's going to get on the list.
So tickets are free, actually, but there's a lottery system that they use to limit the number of fans that can attend. Oh, hang on. Tickets are not only free, but the lottery system doesn't work. So that's why you have 250,000 people
Oh, is that what
hanging
happened?
out. Yeah. So they don't have a lottery system anymore. So if you plan on doing the thing, you need to download a ticket using the NFL Draft Fan Mobile Pass app. Individual ticket for each year is required. So apparently just go in there and...
Oh, so they just stopped charging then. So
yeah. But I think you can get like the VIP stuff, you know, like up underneath the tent, obviously, like right by the stage. And they did have those seats too, back behind the stage. They had like a little seat corridor thing off. So there you go.
I just don't. I'm not a big draft guy anyway. Like, yeah, it's great for their future, or whatever. But you know, it's just show them. The thing that drives me nuts about the draft, and I made that comment to you, is, you know, 4th rounder gets picked, and they scan to like the Redskins fans that are there, and they're high fiving each other and yelling, "Woo!"
And they have no
freaking clue.
The best was the Raiders, because you really had no clue who that guy was. And they're showing the Raiders people. I mean, obviously Kyler Murray in Arizona, you knew who Kyler Murray was, and you knew who, you know, Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, those guys were. Like the Giants, they weren't excited for Dan Jones. The Raider fans at 4, they showed, you know, the Raider fans. I don't know if it's like on an echo there, like maybe a little delay when they can hear it.
Yeah, and then they cheered. Yeah, because they cheered way late.
Yeah.
My favorite part about that was they went to that bar in Vegas, the Raiders bar in Vegas. There was like 8 people there total. That was my favorite part on a Thursday night.
That's the thing. It wasn't just the Vegas. It was every bar that they had a camera in. For some reason, they put cameras in like the deadest Thursday night bars in America.
I mean, it makes sense that bars would be okay. So it makes sense that bars would be dead on a Thursday night in most places, right? Especially on the West Coast, because that's what, 5 o'clock our time. Like people are just getting off of work, or whatever.
But I always see these things.
But in Vegas, you know, you would think there would be a bigger crowd or something.
But that's like the Legends Bar, which is what, somewhere off the strip. It was like one of those locals only type bars, you know, where.
But it's considered a Raiders. You know, they have those types of bars.
Right.
Come see, like out here, we have like 4 Pittsburgh bars, Steeler bars, and stuff like that. So, yeah, so we'll see. Now, you know, the draft's pomp and circumstance. Now these guys have to perform. I mean, you know, generally you're not bust until, year 3 or whatnot. But at the same time, you still have to make your team and make your team better. And That's all, call me old fashioned fuddy duddy, but I don't care that you were drafted number one Kyler Murray. You're a rookie now. Rookie quarterbacks generally don't work out. And so I don't understand the optimism for the Cardinals. I would have rather kept Rosen in here because he took his lumps last year and should take a step forward this year. And they decided to go another route. So
the Rosen video at the end was pretty good, though. Where,
did you see Steve Smith bashing him for unfollowing him on Instagram? And then he came out with that photo, and everybody's like, "Oh, what do you say now, Steve Smith?"
Right? Yeah. I mean, I thought Rosen afterwards. I mean, yeah, you're gonna unfollow him, like whatever. Like, is it pity? Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. But him actually offering up his apartment to Kyler Murray because you come in here on a rookie contract, you're gonna probably get the 3-year lease, right? 2-year lease. I mean, young guy. So he's kind of wedged into a lease right now. I mean, if he didn't come out here until August or so.
To put a bow on that situation, I mean, the Cardinals paid Josh Rosen $11 million last year in signing bonus plus his salary of $5 million or whatever.
Get a house.
The Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are paying him like $5 million. All the Dolphins owe him this year. Like, what a steal for the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. They got hooked up. Anyways.
Yeah.
Digress. But we know where the NFL players live, though.
Yeah, well, he did.
Scottsdale.
I mean, most of them, I
would move by those apartments that are right by the stadium. But then you're only there on Sundays for the most part.
That's the thing. You practice.
Except for training camp, you're there like every day because they do the training camp there now.
Which is why a lot of them live in Ahwatukee in that nice Chandler area, like Chandler area down there, is because that's closest to the practice facility.
Right.
I read this when the hockey team, since we're transitioning to hockey anyway, the hockey team moved out to Glendale, and everybody was like, players don't want to drive out there for game. They're like, no, they all live in Scottsdale by the practice ice, and they don't care driving for the games. They don't want to drive to practice. So I always heard that from hockey players, and I assumed it was the same for football. Yeah, we'll drive across town for a Sunday. So
you gotta deal with that traffic, though.
So it's been a week, Jason.
Been a week
since the major against the Las Vegas Knights. Are you over it yet?
Yeah, I'm over it.
I kind of got over it right away, but I'm still, because there's nothing you could do about it. You have to get over it.
It's I'm watching, like these other series. Like, come on.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's taken a dimmer out of it, especially the San Jose, Colorado series, because I just feel. You
feel like that could have been Vegas. That's the thing.
So San Jose's up 2-1 right now over the Avalanche.
I've been watching more of the Blues Stars series, to be honest.
Course, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, St. Louis is up 2-1. Dallas got the one win and they got blown out. What, last night was it?
It wasn't really a blowout. Monday night.
No, but Monday night, yeah.
It was a good, hard fought game. They were tied there late, and then Blues snuck one in.
The thing that's exciting about this hockey series is now it's wide open. All the favorites are out.
Yeah.
Like
being down 2-1, like Stars being down 2-1 isn't really a big thing right now. They have another home game tonight, could tie it up to go back to St. Louis.
It's the first time that, every division winner has been eliminated in the first round.
I mean, the Islanders might want to start looking at vacation plans. They're down 2-0, so that's going to be a hard one to come back. But I was really on the Islanders bandwagon, man, after sweeping that first series. This is going to be good.
I thought the Islanders were going to take that and go pretty far.
And one of my buddies, he's a big Islander fan, too. And then the Blue Jackets, Bruins. Blue Jackets are up 2-1.
I'm just going to ask you, I've watched that. I watched the first series against Tampa Bay.
Ohio is hockey.
And I'm going for the Bruins in this series, but then it's like, when did Columbus Blue Jackets get so good?
I don't know. But I love it.
They're not beating, squash teams. They're beating good teams right now.
Yeah, only one loss so far in the playoffs, which came in this round.
Yeah,
which was game one, right? Yeah, this is one of the last two.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, they've won the last two, and they've won it in fairly convincing fashion too. So I don't know what's going on with Boston, but that's the exciting thing. So if you are a hockey fan, or even if you're not, man, tune into NBC regional networks. Go get on their app.
NBCSN.
Yeah. And that's right, SN, Sports Networks. And tune into some hockey because it is wide open right now. Nobody's a favorite. I was reading an article the other day where every person that they asked, like every media person that follows hockey was asked like who the favorite is to win now, and everybody had a different team.
Right.
For a different, normally it's, like when Tampa Bay went out, everybody jumped on the Vegas bandwagon,
right?
Except for like one guy,
It was like them and the Capitals, like, they've been there, they know what they're doing. And then they both lose in game sevens, like, what the heck?
So now it's, and now it's okay, it's wide open. Finally, it's wide open, which is exciting to watch, and they're good games. So
I just hope the Sharks don't get there. I hope they lose this round. That's my only
that's the problem
disdain right now.
Colorado had so much momentum after beating the second best team in hockey this year, Calgary. But I just think San Jose, after that game 7 where they were, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to call it a gift. A 5-on-3 major will kill most teams regardless. Yeah, you don't give up 4 goals in that time frame, but that was just a momentum switch.
Right.
If that would have happened in Vegas, it would have been a different outcome.
Oh, yeah.
The crowd went from just we're done to oh my God. So I just think San Jose is going to run that, at least this series. No, even if they would have faced Calgary, they would have just had the momentum behind them.
I got worried there in Dallas the other night. I thought there was going to be a high-sticking major because the guy got pelted in the face. It was accidental contact, He was...
Was he bleeding?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, that's right.
But he went down, yeah. So, the guy, the Stars player, it was just trying to, get his stick back and, rock the guy in the face, which, total incidental contact, but you got to call it because, it did rock him in the face. But then he was down on the ground. I was like, oh, man, he's bleeding. This is going to suck for the Stars. And I was like, all right, cool, he's not bleeding. And he got up, too. He's all checking it, like, am I bleeding? Am I bleeding?
It's so funny when they do that, too. They're like, please bleed bleeding. Please bleed bleeding.
Right.
Please bleed bleeding. So,
No, it's reminded me of Mighty Ducks 1 where they told told Banks to...
Yeah.
Or Conway. Yeah, just go down.
Yeah.
Grab your eye.
Oh, and it was Banks that. Oh no, because at the end they wanted Banks to do it, and he was like, "I'm not going to do it." That's right. I can't believe we're reliving that.
Banks told Emilio, "What up?"
So same thing with the NFL playoffs. When the Saints got robbed and that no call, and then here with this, it's just why is there so? Because there's always been bad calls in sports, but why are there so many bad calls that affect the end of games now than before?
Especially in the pressure situations. Is it the teams that they put out there, like referee teams? Because we know,
you got to be one of the best teams to ref a hockey game.
Well, I haven't really been keeping up with the NBA stuff, except for Harden wants a fair shake after getting hit on his beard and a foul getting called. But yesterday they had, I guess, a veteran official who doesn't do. I guess they don't do the whole series.
That's what. No, they rotate him in basketball. But that was Harden's complaint: is they're not calling it like they were in the regular. You know how he does that step back that's traveling, but the young refs never called it. But these veteran officials are calling it now in the playoffs because veteran officials are like, no, that's a travel.
Right.
So they officiate differently.
Like veteran officials are catching on to the BS that NBA players are doing. They're like, no, that's not a call. Yes, that is a call. And then it gets called. Like, what the heck? We haven't had this all year.
Yeah, the NFL uses all-star teams, so they don't work together. They need to stop that.
Yeah. But I saw that firsthand because they brought out that all-star crew for that Monday night game I went to, which lasted forever.
Yep.
4 hours, just them calling penalties and touchdowns galore. But
this one here for the NHL, they're supposedly the bad. They got suspended. They're not working the playoffs anymore because the NHL was like, that was the worst call you guys could have ever made.
Right.
On there, and it just seems to me, and the NFL has fixed it, right? Because you can challenge that now.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that those refs should have been able to skate over to that little circle, get the old rotary phone out, and talk to Toronto and get an update on that instead of making that call. And it's like not an option apparently.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was an option.
Toronto's like buzzing because Toronto can buzz. Like, why isn't Toronto buzzing? Like, guys, guys,
because they did that on the delay of game at the end of the game for the Stars and Blues on Monday night.
Yeah,
there
Toronto
was that
can buzz
one where he's like, did this go through? So they all gathered, all the officials, and then they got on the phone like, all right, it didn't go off the Stars guys, so that's a delay game.
I just don't get why there's always bad calls, so you're gonna and that was the argument by all the San Jose was, there's bad calls for both teams, but there is a difference. Same thing with the Saints thing is there's a difference between a bad no call in that point of the game and compared to the first period,
right,
and a missed offsides call that doesn't result in a goal or whatever is different than this happened. But I just don't understand why there are so many bad, like before replay there were always bad calls, but there was never one at the end of the game where people talked about it for 3 weeks.
Well, do you think we highlight it a little bit more though because replay is an option and we're like, we should be reviewing that now?
I would say
since you're reviewing on other stuff, like why don't we review this call as well?
No, because I think you would highlight the bad NFL call, this call, they're just so bad that you would just highlight it. Like
go
with
back,
or without replay.
10 years ago, we didn't have replay or whatever. NBA or NFL's had it for what, 10, 15 years now. But
when there was bad calls before replay, people were like, we need replay.
Right.
That was, and then you moved on.
And now that you got replay, it's like what's reviewable, what's not reviewable, and when you see those calls, like that should be reviewable. What the heck? So I think like that kind of highlights.
But there wasn't the outrage that was there now, So I mean, because I texted you, you were behind. Sorry I ruined it for you. But I mean, I texted you and was like that. I pretty much was like that just costs Vegas this series,
right?
Because you get a bad call, then you hype it with you're on the road, and then you hype it with a call that goes against you that you don't think is the right call, and it wasn't because the NHL said so. And then, you give up an instant goal right away. You're 5-on-3, you're power killing units. You don't have 12 of those sitting on the bench that you can rotate in and out. It's the same guys for 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And they usually have 40-second shifts, I mean, that's how big of a deal. It just seems odd to me that, it's like... there's got to be a way to, especially major calls, right? Like basketball.
Yeah.
They
Flagrants,
call it flagrant one. You go review. No matter what, you call it or you don't call it, you still go over and review it to make sure it wasn't a flagrant. Like calls like that should be automatically reviewable.
And I think that's something that will get changed. They're not like NASCAR where they change it on the whim.
No, they'll change it.
They'll change it in the off season, and stuff like that. And also in the NBA, I think they'll change the space rule for when you come down, because a lot of these guys are getting these calls where they're coming down and it's total BS. It's this is my space, like I get this space.
The issue in basketball is 2 years ago, even a year ago, when you shot the ball, you went straight up and straight down, like you've done for hundreds of years. Now you got guys like Harden that are jumping backwards 5 feet when they're shooting it, or they're going forward 5 feet when they're shooting it. And it changes the whole space.
Even
thing.
Chris Paul, did it, and he started crying, which does not look good for the NBA president crying.
Basketball's turned into a dud. The Warriors are winning it. Like I'm convinced of that at this point.
Yeah, they said the Rockets were going to be their best team there.
Well, they're working.
Oh, the Celtics though, they look pretty good. They're in the East, so Warriors Celtics will probably be the finals matchup.
Milwaukee has a chance. They're young and they don't know what they're into, so they might come back.
Celtics though did a good job of shutting down old Greek freak Giannis.
But I think it's like I said, I got the hiccups. Excuse me, but basketball is. I think people are just tired of the Rockets. 'Cause the way they play, it's just not right. For James Harden, who. As a basketball player, like I love, but the Rockets have figured out how to game the system right with these step back threes and which is traveling, and these travel calls. But for James Harden to seriously sit there at the end of game one and be like, I just want a fair chance, man. Like the one guy that gets flops left and right.
And then they showed the one that he got
right.
He shot free throws on when the guy touched his beard or whatever. Yeah. It's just him flopping. Looked like he was knocking down a fly.
He acts like he gets sniped from a mile away and doesn't see it coming through his right shoulder blade as he's starting to shoot it. And they show it and the guy's not even touched.
I don't think it was in the Rockets' best interest to roll out against the referees with 81 missed calls last year that they ESPN got hold of yesterday when they're like, you highlighted these 81 calls that the Rockets.
So game 2. Earlier this season, the Rockets came out, Chris Paul and James Harden and D'Antoni all came out and said, this guy doesn't like us. And they showed how his calls are more egregious against them or whatever. And that's who was the sign.
Yeah, he was. Rockets were 0-6 against him.
Yeah.
And all that was, he was already assigned to that game before because the Rockets video, whatever the heck, got released yesterday.
Well, no, but Pat Riley used to manipulate the refs. Phil Jackson was good at that's part of the game, but it's like the Rockets have taken it to another level where they bring out stats and videos showing what the refs are doing. And your boy Mark Cuban, when he first came into the league, he instituted all that, and even Mark Cuban talks about it today, where he's like, I did no favors.
Oh no.
They came down harder on our teams because we were doing that.
He was the first one to be like, this is a bad play, let's show it on the video board.
Yeah.
Which teams they still don't do. Cuban's I don't think Cuban does it anymore.
No, because he learned that you piss off the guy calling the shots, he's going to come down harder on you.
You say these refs, they can just grab Dairy Queen workers.
That's right. He had to go work at Dairy Queen.
Which was a cool little experience. I was actually it sucked because it was on like a Tuesday or whatever, so I didn't get to go. But
yeah.
I had a few friends that actually went up there and got their DQ from Mark Cuban in the drive-through lane.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But mock draft 2020. Sorry, Dean Mills. It's already out. Tua favorite to be the top pick.
Who is?
Tua.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, tank for Tua, right? I think I've already seen shirts for a few teams that say that now. Next year's going to be 2 or 3 good quarterbacks. That's why I like Miami.
Yeah, I also got the kid out of Clemson. Maybe Trevor Lawrence will be.
Is he eligible
out there
2 years after high school?
I'm trying to think. Is this his sophomore year? Yeah, because he was a true freshman. Yeah. But Georgia, they got that good quarterback too. I think Oregon has a pretty good. Yeah, they got Jake Fromm and then Justin Herbert from Oregon. So
what about Dabo Swinney signing that $93 million extension out of Clemson there?
Ridiculous. He's the next Nick Saban. Can't wait till he.
I don't think he's ever going to leave Clemson, man. Unless he gets caught doing shady stuff and he has to leave, and then they leave in good faith. But I read something the other day that enrollment for out of state, because colleges make more money for out of state students than they do in-state. Like they want out of state students, and it was something like 700% higher for out of state people trying to go to Clemson since they've started winning.
Jeez.
So forget about the revenue they're making. On the sports side, just the school in general is making a lot more money because of sports.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're like a big sports fan, wouldn't you be like more so like, oh, man, I want to go to this school because that'd be awesome to go and go to those games on Saturday?
Do you think Dabo Swinney's like an NFL head coach? I don't see him as an NFL head coach at all.
No, I think he's a college guy through and through. I think after Clemson, he'll probably be Bama when Saban leaves.
I thought Saban would be the closest to being an NFL quarterback or NFL head coach. But what we learned from Saban is he was too rigid and regimented and stuff, and you can't do that with NFL guys. You have to be, more laid back because they're professionals, and you can't be on top. And you can't do what who's the old ball coach? What's his name?
Spurrier.
Like you can't be like him where you want to cut out of practice, cut practice an hour early because you want to go play golf. Like you can't do that either.
How cool is it though? Steve Spurrier's nickname is the old ball coach. Like,
and it's been that way since he was like what 40.
Yeah, so like all these coaches, he gets the reputation of just being the old ball coach. Like, yep, that's the old ball coach right there, Spurrier. But looking ahead, some interesting things noted overnight. Dana White says Brock Lesnar hit him up and said, "Hey man, I'm done with MMA." So he's officially retired.
Did you hear the rumor on that?
Well, he won the Cormier fight.
He failed a drug test, is what the rumor on the street is. So
I did not see that. I just saw that this morning.
The other day I was reading some people that claim to be in the know. So take it as you want. It could be completely false. I don't know, but they were verified, and there were MMA and wrestling people that said that he might have failed a drug test. So he's like, oh, done. So I mean, I think he'll give up on his MMA career long before he gives up on anything else, because that's the most, tormenting career that he's got. So, but yeah, so we'll see. We'll have to see if that comes out. I mean, if he retired, I guess it won't come out that he failed because they don't need to come out with it, right?
Yeah, you won't have to need to come out with it, but there's conflicting reports. Obviously, one guy says in his opinion this decision might have been fueled by a new contract that Vince offered, because he did a random Q&A last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which Brock Lesnar doesn't do like a whole lot of those, but he got about 1,000 people. I actually read like the transcript.
Does Brock Lesnar even talk?
Right, like that's what's crazy. He's actually a pretty good talker when he does talk.
Other than grunt,
no, he actually is a pretty good talker when he does talk.
I think that's the way to go.
He was saying, I keep these things short, to work. I make my money from both, and I've always wanted to do it that way, just because I'm not passionate. I just like it. Like he's like, I like fighting people. I like getting paid to go wrestling and all that stuff. So.
I think, the smart move is to just do wrestling right and finish up your career at wrestling, regardless of what they pay, because you're just not going to take the beat. You're going to take a beating, but you're not going to take the beating you're going to take at MMA.
Right.
Because eventually you're going to run up against some young guy that's just going to lay you out,
well,
no matter who you are.
There's a few people that were not too happy on the UFC side, because obviously the big thing was Brock fighting, Daniel Cormier, and that's not happening. And one Curtis Blades came out on a tweet, said, "F you, Brock Lesnar, holding up the damn division just to quit." You said inconsiderate AF. He actually tweeted the AF. So interesting.
But did he? He's like, well, see, that's the thing. Like, I mean, at this point, Lesnar's pretty much same thing with WWE. He's pretty much like the untouchable figurehead, right? Like that's his character at this point. So he's got to be. He can't just go in there and fight somebody every 3 months just to fight. That would ruin his character and his mystique, right?
But they did confirm for Brock Lesnar because WWE also came out with their new Saudi date on June 7th. They're going to be back in Saudi Arabia with Undertaker, Brock, and Bill Goldberg. Yes, Goldberg coming back. Don't know if he's going to be wrestling or just coming to do a little appearance or something like that, but those three will all be at Saudi Arabia.
Get him out of Georgia, huh?
So there you go. The money. Show me the money, man. That's what it's all about, right?
I mean, in those shows, to grow it over there, you want, because, those guys are watching all that old stuff that we don't really watch here anymore, So it'll be interesting to see, yeah.
But cash talks, right?
Yeah, absolutely, especially for the retired guys. Forget about the guys that are still doing it, but the retired guys, like,
I mean, I was reading somebody's contract. A tag team got offered 5 years, $500,000, which, like, if Vince came at Brock with that, he'd be like,
yeah, no,
see you later.
I don't get out of bed for $500,000.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Huh. It'll be interesting to see how that works out there. I mean, he's done. Like, there's no more fights, right? Like, he just told UFC, I'm done, right?
Yeah, he just told UFC, I'm done. They already moved on with Cormier's next opponent. Can't remember the guy's name.
Part of me wonders, like, maybe he's got an injury, something might have happened. Oh, like you said, WWE was like, what'll it take to just get you to never do that again? Because they're on the hook. Like, they still have to pay him. If he goes into a UFC ring and gets hurt or something bad, WWE's still paying him.
But that's why his contracts was always short with those guys. Like, when he did that last fight, I know he did get permission because it was like more of a cross promotion type thing. Vince was like, yeah, go for it. But he wasn't contractually obligated to be in a wrestling ring for X amount of time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work all that stuff out, but it's just that stuff just always fascinates me. So
Stipe Miocic rematch that we all didn't want to see. That's what's happening.
I'm just not a big UFC guy unless it's big name guys and even then I'm not really into it. I watch it just because I expect stuff, but yeah, I'm not.
Oh yeah, I'd like to go to a UFC fight, just kind of see how it is. But I couldn't be that guy like sitting up top. I want to be like down low.
You have to be down low. You want to see the hit.
I want to be in the cut. I want to be like sitting next to like Chuck Liddell. Be like, whenever they do those crossovers, I'll be like in the background like, yeah, what's up, Chuck? Me and my buddy.
So I've been to, I used to love boxing when it was a decent sport. And I've been to a boxing match where I've sat like far away. And then I've been to one where I sat almost ringside, like 4 rows from the ring. And two completely different events. Like when you can hear a punch land and the guy gasp when he loses his air, when his face gets pummeled, it's just a completely different. So I'm assuming UFC, and that's why people love UFC, is it is so brutal and things like that. And that, did you see the other day? I don't know what it was, where 6 fighters got in the ring at the same time and were fighting.
Yeah, 3-on-3 thing. I saw one of my old instructors, Steve Muhlhausen, retweeted that. Like, I don't know what this is, but it is awesome.
I saw it on.
And they start like a gang up. They're like, all right, they're doing a gang up. And it's like, all right, no, now it's back to one-on-one.
They started a gang up, and then one of the guys that didn't gang up on him like starts hitting one of the guys in the back of the head.
Yeah, like that thing is holy cow. That's dangerous.
I have no idea what it was. I actually saw it on the Lebertard show, highly unquestionable on ESPN the other day.
That definitely make you question some things, right?
I was like, what in the world? That just does not sound like the greatest idea somebody had,
No, the last boxing match I watched was, of course, the Mayweather-McGregor one. Did you watch that one?
Yeah, it was the last one I watched, too.
Did you buy it or did you stream it illegally?
I actually bought that one.
I was going to go to a local bar, but that was the night my ex actually went out of town, so I was on baby duty. So it was like, well, I'm not going to take him to the bar for a boxing match, but
if it's a big
I watch it like Instagram or whatever.
And you can find those streams, but then they cut out halfway through. And
I found a decent one that I rode with all night, so it was good.
Yeah, that one I actually bought because I was home with the kids. I was home with the kids too, and we were doing something. And then I was like, I'm not going to buy it. I'll just watch the replay, whatever. And then like right before it went on, Ethan was talking about it. So I was like, oh, let's get it real quick,
Right.
Whatever. So it didn't matter. But So that was type of that deal. But generally, no, I don't buy that. So like, they need to get away from pay-per-view stuff on that. They need to go like Fox is doing. Put it on whatever ESPN Plus, because ESPN's doing that. ESPN Plus that's their cornerstone is UFC. Do that stuff, because then I can do a 7-day trial and then cancel it right away after the
Exactly.
Or I pay $5.99 for a month and then have it canceled, and whatever.
Dude, WWE, they haven't figured out with that network thing, man. $9.99, and I mean right now it's on. You can get it unlimited devices pretty much, because I use somebody else's and I know you use the same one. And so I mean they got to figure it out with that deal. But
then the thing that I get annoyed with is Raw and whatever is on those other channels that you can't get.
Apparently Hulu, I found out
but
from
the next day.
No, they actually do it an hour later.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I found that out last week. Somebody was telling me, like, oh, yeah, I get to watch it, just an hour later.
Because, the kids would I could have it on and the kids would kind of pay attention, and I would pay attention to it, but not pay. Does that make sense? Like, it would be on.
But I think it's the Hulu. You have to have the Hulu Live stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't pay for that.
But it's not live, so it's like an hour later. That's what somebody was telling me that they get from Hulu.
Yeah, but, that would be like a baseball game for me where I would just have it on.
Background
in
noises.
the background and have it on and not pay attention to it. But the big matches, WrestleMania, I watched start to finish.
Yeah, which was so long.
It was ridiculous. They need to figure something out. I know it's the biggest shows and stuff, but they need to figure something out on that.
Also, coming up this year, it was announced today, Booger McFarland will be in the booth.
Yeah,
the Booger Mobile is no more for all you fans who sit down 5 rows behind the home team.
Do you know who did not? More importantly, do you know who did not get the job?
Pat McAfee.
That is a disgrace and a disservice to Monday Night Football fans everywhere.
McAfee on MFN hashtag was trending for, MNF. Yeah. Hashtag McAfee on MNF was the tweet, the hashtag last night, which was trending #1 worldwide for 10 hours on a random Monday night.
I would watch just to see what comes out of his mouth. Like, it could be a 700-0 ball game in the second quarter, and I would pay attention just to see what Pat McAfee would have to say.
I mean, when he did the
pick.
No, not the the pick was great too. They did with the NFL draft, but when he did the little random Fox game this past year, and the punter for the Lions threw it in.
Yeah,
that was the best call ever from anybody ever been in the booth. I mean, obviously, he was a punter and he got overly excited, but it was just crazy,
I know Booger gets a lot of heat for, he's knowledgeable. I think he's going to be better without your boy Witten in there. I think it's going to be a lot better. And then we'll actually get to see Lisa Salser this year. Because last year, I remember asking you, like, is she even on this? Like,
was she on the broadcast last year? Because they said she returned. And I was like, I don't remember even seeing her.
You'd watch a game and she'd talk like once. Other than that, you'd never hear from her again. But she was advertised and all that stuff. So I think this is going to be better. The problem with Monday Night Football is NFL views it as a cable outlet and they give them crappy games. On paper, though. On paper this year, there are good games lined up, but we all know how paper works with the NFL. Week 2, throw it all away because the teams you think are good are going to suck, and the teams that suck are going to be good.
But the official statement from Pat McAfee's, his first Twitter statement wasn't his official one, but he said, "We gave it all we had, team. We gave it all we had." McAfee for MNF trending for 10 hours on a random Monday. I'll never forget you beautiful humans of the internet. I'm eternally grateful. Cheers. At NFL on Fox, sup. So he's looking to go back to Fox next year.
Yeah, did he like actually interview for the ESPN gig, or was it just people wanting him to do it?
I think it was just one of those things like, I'm going to start this tweet, this thread, and let's put the pressure on and let's see what's up, Because I think he knew like it was getting announced. Like he might have gotten interviewed for it.
I think to be honest with you, I think he would be a liability in the Monday Night Football booth.
Yeah.
He says things that I think are hilarious.
He get away with saying some of that stuff on Fox, right?
But but he's not going to be like the game of the week guy. He's going to be the guy doing the Buccaneers and whatever, where only like 2 cities are watching it.
Bucks and Cardinals. He has that one locked up in week 6.
Yeah, and the Buccaneers and the Cardinals fans are the only ones watching that game. I think that's where he'd be. But I think Monday Night Football is still considered, that highbrow whatever. So I think he would be kind of a liability. That doesn't mean I don't want to see it, because he's amazing. He has a perspective that is just amazing to me.
So I'm looking for a new gym here before we get off the air here. Moved over to the west side. I go to Anytime Fitness.
North side.
North side. It's closer to the west. I'm like 5 minutes away from the West Valley. Over there. Like
19th Avenue and 101.
Yeah, it's like a quick drive
That's
down
like north. It's like dead center north.
It's a quick drive down the 101 to get over on the west side. So
and it's also the same distance to get to Scottsdale, which is in the East Valley.
Yeah, so I'm like right there in the middle.
You're in the north.
I'm in the north, whatever. But I can go to a gym on the west and go gym north, east, whatever. So Anytime Fitness, they have 3 that I've found so far within a 10-minute radius that I've gone to. There was one at Norterra, which isn't there anymore, which I was kind of sad about.
Yeah, that'd be close.
Because the pre-workout was hitting me. But I went down to one off Thunderbird, which is all right, solid, but it's kind of a weird area.
Yeah, that's
right across from that QT.
Yeah, that's not a good area.
Yeah. And I went to one, the second one I went to, it was pretty nice. It was on 7th Avenue, but I kind of can't go back to that one because I was drinking my water after doing a workout. I don't know what happened. Went down the wrong pipe, or I just had to cough, but I started coughing. This water was like coming out my mouth, man. So I'm trying to cover it up. I just like barfed water everywhere, like right on this guy's leg. And I felt super shitty. I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm sorry. And I'm like, my headphones are in still. So like listening to whatever, I'm just like, like almost like I threw up on this guy's leg. And guy's like, looks down. I was like, like, and I just start like F-bombing, like F me, what's up? And so I can't go back to that one. See that guy again. And then I went to one today on Cave Creek Road, which I think is the nicer of the 3. It's bigger.
That's what I was going to say. I know there's one on Cave Creek that's really nice. It's either that or you got to go north to like Deer Valley or Happy Valley, and those will be nice ones too.
Yeah.
Because that's a newer area. So, okay.
I like the Cave Creek one.
All right. Well, you know how my mind works. So... So at any point you're just like F-bombing, like be like, oh my God, I'm sorry, and like doing it. Like, did any point in time did you like in your mind go just fall down, like pretend like you're like dying?
Having a seizure or something? I should have, man. I don't know. I just like I went to the bathroom because I was like, water was like up on my face.
You gotta like ride it up until the point where the guy's about to give you mouth to mouth and be like, I'm good. But like you gotta be on the ground, like like, oh,
I should have, man. Like, no, I was so embarrassed, man. Like, I still got like my eyes were getting all teary right now because I'm still like embarrassed by the thing. I'm turning red in here with you.
I would almost take that to like if the ambulance showed up, I would get in the ambulance and go to the hospital.
Like, no, I'm
just
good.
To like make sure that, like it gets played out, like because then you can go back then because you can be like, oh man, that sucked, whatever.
Right. I just started like lighter weights. Like, yeah, doctor said, go on some lighter exercises. But nah, man, like I felt so embarrassed by the guy. Like, I apologized to him. I came out, I was like, you all right? I was like, dude, yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Wrong pipe or something, man. Like, but when I did it, I covered my mouth. So it hit my face first. So I had to go wipe my face off because I couldn't see anything. And then like I got a little bit on his leg.
That's why I'm laughing because I'm envisioning, we've all done that where you like, and it just sprays everywhere.
Like, luckily it was like the carpet. So I didn't have to like worry about like, hey man, you got a mop here? I can clean up my spit.
The other side of it is that's probably the cleanest that carpet's gotten lately, Jason.
The pre-workout water that was still
was it all brown and stuff, colored?
No, there was a little bit of red tint in there from had a little bit of pre-workout when I filled up my water bottle in there still. So
yes.
I felt super shitty about the situation.
At least it didn't like go in his face or mouth or something like that.
He was just doing like his little walk around before getting on his next workout. And I'm like trying to move. I'm like, oh God, like this is so awkward. But almost happened to me again, like in the car. I was drinking. I was like, well, actually, I was actually listening to the Dale Jr. Download with John Force, and I was trying not to laugh at something.
How weird is John Force, by the way?
Oh my gosh.
Like, I knew he was weird before.
You listened to that?
I listened to parts of it.
I'm surprised. I made it. The only reason I made it through because I was at the gym today.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's unlistenable to, in my opinion. Like, when he does his interviews on NHRA weekends, I can't even watch his interviews. It's so.
I mean, I've seen like the videos where it's like, all right, cool, you get to cut away after a minute, but listening to him for hour and 30 talk was unbearable. Like I saw some people like, man, you gotta listen to this, such a great listen. it just was like, man, stay in school, kids. And if you don't stay in school, drive really fast and find some sponsors to back you.
But that's the other weird thing about him. But before I go into the other thing weird about him is his daughter can talk like a human being, and is like, I think it's his son or son-in-law or somebody can talk,
right.
you know, and like it's like, oh my god, like where does? But my other favorite part of it. So what I saw clips of the, you know, because he live broadcasted or whatever. So I saw the clips, you know,
right,
and John Force is like in his racing like gear with his
he's got his little sponsor shirt,
right?
rocking like a little pit shirt,
you know?
hat. Yeah.
It's like man, do you wear regular clothes, buddy? Like
I don't think he does, man.
No other racer does that, but I mean he's an interesting guy. I mean that's the easiest way to put it. Like he is definitely. And you could say he's hit his head a lot or something.
He's the brokest rich guy I know.
He's been that way.
Because he talked about his checkbook a lot during that deal.
Right? Well, because he came from nothing, right? Like, you know, but I mean, he made that sport. He's the name in that sport, you know, by a long shot, driving in a straight line, right?
Yeah, I got me a John Force 16-time champion T-shirt when the only NHRA event I ever went to with like the big NHRA guys. I mean, obviously I did some drag racing. There's some like lower level NHRA stuff that I did.
Called it?
And I didn't call the race, but they gave me free tickets. Like, here you go, free tickets to Saturday.
They have it out here. They have twice. February or March, and then November the Nationals, and they're fun to go to. You just have to pack your patience because, God forbid, one crash and an hour later they have the track clear.
I get bored waiting for the 3 minutes. I'm like, come on, guys, let's go.
I know. It's like, oh, my dear God. So
it's also bad track prep.
So ESPN the magazine shutting down is my last thing. I'm kind of bummed by that because that, Jason, was the awesomest magazine when it first came out. I subscribed. I hated Sports Illustrated my whole life. I've hated Sports Illustrated.
Did you subscribe to get the free like pullover? Were they doing the pullover?
I don't remember what I got back then. Probably it was when they first came out. Like I subscribed like 2 months before the first.
I remember when it first came out. Because what was it, like early 2000s?
Yeah, and they were like oversized. Like they were bigger, so they weren't like your normal magazine size. Their pictures were better. You know, actual sports pictures. You know, the stories were good. And ironically enough, I do have it somewhere in this office. I'll have to find it. I actually got a comment published in the.
Really?
Section, yes, about the Spurs, because there was an article on the Spurs on how great they are and all that. So, like, my comment was something like, you know, oh, great, another article telling us how great the Spurs are. You know, they're annoying, they flop, they cry to the refs all the time, and oh yeah, they're really good, or something to that effect. And made it. I was the biggest one on there, my name on there. I remember I got on a plane and I got my new episode. I didn't even think about it, you know. And I got the new thing, and I got on a plane. Back in the day when you sat down on a plane and opened up a newspaper or magazine, and I flip it open and I'm reading it, and I looked at the guy sitting next to me, and I was like, huh, that's me right there. There you go, my ESPN the magazine story. And then I dropped them like 4 years later because I stopped reading magazines like most people. I went to the online edition,
right? And
that never works out because you forget about it and you don't want to.
You get the email, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get all this spam.
Yeah, yeah. So then I just got rid of it. But yeah, so you know, that's my little ESPN the
yeah, they're closing it down with the body issue in September,
which I got rid of it before the body issue.
I like the body issues. I don't think they're that bad. Like, I mean, obviously, looking at an old guy naked golfing, taking a golf swing is kind of weird, but I don't know. It's like so crazy just seeing.
What's weird about it though, Jason? The fact that the 75-year-old old guy looks better than you ever have.
And he still has some flab, but yeah, I mean,
he looks better than you ever have.
Yeah, totally. But no, I actually like the body issue. Not to sound weird, I mean, I think it's just a cool little issue that they do and everything.
All the body issue, because they show it on ESPN or whatever, and all the body issue does is reconfirm to me that I like pizza too much,
right?
And I will never look like that. Ever. Because even like the ones that are chubby looking.
Oh yeah, they're still in like great shape.
You're like, oh my dear God, like
Jabba Chamberlain, he was on one, man, in like the first body issue of 2009, and he just looked extremely good. Mark Martin was in one for NASCAR. Carl Edwards, he was ripped. But
do you think they get in shape for that though?
I watched the like behind the scenes deal. I mean, it wasn't like in shape. I mean, it was Bryce Harper like during season. I watched like how he had like the bands was like in between like takes.
But he's
already in good shape. Yeah. So he's just making sure to get the pump in.
Yeah, I mean the guy that's like sitting at home, for his season's over, like 3 months into it, he's just sitting at home. And he's like, oh, I got to do the body episode. I better get going here. It's kind of like MTV Cribs, where none of the celebrities' houses look like that. You know,
Right.
they were staged or whatever when they knew they were coming. So I feel like it's the same type. Because if you call me right now and said, "Hey, we want to do you in the body issue," I would look like you've never dreamed of before. And then the second the pictures were done, I'd go back to normal.
Back to normal.
You know? And I'm not like a guy that goes off that stuff. So, you know, it's pretty funny, but.
But no, sad. Hope they continue the body issue somehow. I don't know.
And then the thing that we learned earlier today was that, which isn't surprising, but at the same time it is that in Vietnam, the Vietnam War is not known as the Vietnam War, Jason.
No, known as the American War.
Aggression War.
Yeah, some more to it, but yeah, the American Aggression War.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. Get out of your bubble, and it's not all about America, even though it should be.
Vietnam. God bless you, God bless the troops, and God bless America.